Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Let's get straight to our top story. Obama versus Trump. President Obama campaigned vigorously for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election, telling supporters, quote, "My name may not be on the ballot, but our progress is on the ballot," unquote. Despite Clinton's defeat, Obama still thinks he would have beaten President-elect Donald Trump in a head-to-head matchup, as he told his former advisor David Axelrod in a podcast yesterday.
I'm confident that if I had run again and articulated it, I think I could have mobilized a majority of the American people to rally behind it. I know that in conversations that I've had with people around the country, even some people who disagreed with me, they would say the vision, the direction that you point towards is the right one.
Axelrod was later asked if Obama's comments were a thinly veiled swipe at Hillary Clinton.
Is this kind of a harsh judgment of Hillary Clinton? He would have been able to do what she could not?
Well, he said this in service of a larger point, which is he doesn't accept that the election was a verdict on his view of where the country should be going. He points out that she got a majority of the vote. He feels that he would have won the election. But there's no doubt that there is some criticism implicit in his remarks. And he went on to say that perhaps the Clinton campaign took too much for granted. Perhaps they played it too cautiously.
For his part, Donald Trump dismissed the president's claim, writing on Twitter, quote, "President Obama said that he thinks he would have won against me. He should say that, but I say no way. Jobs leaving, ISIS, Eau Claire, etc., unquote." Joining us now with reaction is Lisa Booth, a Fox News contributor, and Washington, D.C., Richard Goodstein, a Democratic strategist who worked on Clinton's 2008 campaign. Richard, really, of course he's going to say that now. Oh, I would have beaten Donald Trump because he couldn't have run. It's an obvious question. But let's go to this. Is he saying he would have done better against Trump than Hillary did?
Yeah, and let me give you one illustration, Eric. I was a poll watcher in 2008 in an entirely black voting place for early voting on Election Day in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. On the last day of early voting, remember the lines were hours long, a first-time voter summoned me over and he said, "Sir, can I just vote for Barack?" And I started to say, "Well, you could, but your Congressman Alcee Hastings is black." He said, "Well, why don't they have an express line for people like me?" Okay? And I don't think he was joking. I think he was serious. If they had had one, he would have used that in a second.
Okay, so what's
and
Richard,
my point is,
yeah.
you couldn't have paid that guy to vote for Hillary Clinton. The 2016 version of that guy didn't really care about her. And the 10,000 votes that she lost by in Michigan, the 20,000 in Wisconsin, the 40,000 in Pennsylvania, that guy and his sister and tens of thousands like him, they would have come out. They didn't come out for Hillary.
Okay, very good. Lisa, what do you think? Was that President Obama taking a shot at Hillary saying, well, if it were me, I would have beaten him?
I think I was taking a shot at Hillary Clinton, obviously Donald Trump as well. But as you mentioned earlier in the show, President Obama said that his legacy was on the ballot in 2016. And essentially what this was rejection of that legacy, because what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump ran on eradicating President Obama's legacy. This was a rejection of President Obama's vision for the country and his policies as well. He talked about unraveling Obamacare. He talked about unraveling the Iran deal. Even if you look at something like the Supreme Court, 21% of voters said that was the most important issue for them when deciding which candidate to vote for. Those voters overwhelmingly went for Donald Trump. That's a rejection of what President Obama would have chose out as a Supreme Court nominee as well.
Not only that, Richard, President Obama himself said, I remember this on the stump, he was saying, a vote for Hillary is a vote for my legacy. And guess what happened? They lost.
We're talking about the 2016 results, right? That Hillary won by almost 3 million. So
no, I'm talking about the 2016 results where President-elect Donald Trump won 306 to 235, whatever it was.
It cannot be said that if one candidate stands for X and the other stands for non-X, and the X person wins by more than 3 million, you can't really say that the public was behind non-X.
We can do this until we're blue in the face, but if you remove California, Donald Trump still wins the popular vote. By the way, Hillary Clinton could be president of California at this point.
Well, and not to mention the fact, Eric, too, that Donald Trump was able to flip 217 counties from Democrat in 2000 and the previous election to Republican, right? And you look at the 700 counties that President Obama won in 2008 and 2012, Donald Trump was able to flip 1/3 of those. And I think a large part of that reason was because he ran a campaign, as I mentioned before, on eradicating President Obama's policies, those failed policies, you don't think that voters who have felt the economic ramifications of President Obama's policies, whether it's the fact that he's the only president in history, hold on, I let you speak, the only president in history to not see 3% economic growth, the fact that we've seen more small businesses go under than be created, the fact that in places like Arizona, insurance premiums have increased over 100%. You don't think that voters went to the ballot knowing that President Obama's legacy was on the ballot, which is a pure repudiation of his legacy and his policies?
What I think is that having brought unemployment down by a half, by having the stock market virtually triple under the Obama presidency, by having finally middle-class incomes go up for the first time in 15 years, yes, I think all those people in counties that went Obama in 08 and 12 would have voted for the real thing in 16 and not for the guy who is making all these promises that we know he can't keep.
Okay, no, fair enough. Maybe that is the case. However, for President Obama to just a month after the election to come out and say, by the way, I would have won, he is taking a shot at Hillary Clinton. I mean, look, there's no question he was her best surrogate. I'd say Michelle Obama and Barack Obama were Hillary Clinton's best surrogates. But in hindsight, Obama has to protect his legacy. And the question is he now trying to distance himself from Hillary's loss so that his legacy is intact, Richard?
Well, again, Obama's favorability numbers and Trump's were the inverse of one another on Election Day. The fact is, as regards Hillary, I think if you had Hillary Clinton on this program, Eric, she would admit that there were certain things that she would do differently, not just campaign in Wisconsin, Michigan, and so forth, but even harnessing that change.
I mean, not just that, but how about that was a big flaw.
Of course. But I'm talking about just the change argument. The fact is, I think she and her team could have done a better job.
Here's the problem, Mitch. I'm going to bring Lisa in. Here's the problem. But up until that election, up until November 8th, President Obama was like, yeah, Hillary Clinton and I, we're on the same team here. We're both progressive. You vote for her as a vote for the progressive agenda. She loses. All of a sudden, he wants no part of it.
Also, not to mention the fact, if you want to talk about facts, you want to talk about some numbers, how about the rejection that President Obama's legacy has seen from the state level to the federal level throughout the past 8 years? You look at the fact that the Democratic Party holds fewer state legislatures than ever before in history. Republicans control the majority of governorships in the country. Republicans now have the House and Senate under President Obama's failed policies. Now they have the White House. So don't tell me that this was not a repudiation of President Obama's failed policies.
Hold on. But let's just add this. You can't say this is all one team, this is all what we're about until your team loses and say, I had nothing to do with them.
Also, can we just have a civics lesson for every Democrat in the country who clearly doesn't know how the electoral process works?
Richard, final thought.
In every other country on the planet, what we call popular votes are votes.
Excuses.
I understand there's an electoral system. I understand. And if we take Comey and the Russians out of the mix, I swear there'd be a different result.
And let's not leave Obamacare and deplorables. Lisa, Richard, thank you very much.